What if your rejection isn't the enemy attacking you, but heaven identifying you? You've been wondering why everything got harder when you got serious about God, why relationships shifted, why opportunities dried up, why silence became louder. You thought faith would bring you peace, but it brought pain. You thought obedience would bring favor, but it brought fire. And now you're asking, if I'm following Christ, why does it feel like I'm being punished? But what if I told you this isn't punishment at all? What if persecution isn't a sign you're wrong, but the signature that you're right? This isn't just another message. It's heaven interrupting your numbness, because you weren't abandoned. You were being branded by fire, branded by truth, branded by a name the world can't understand. Faithful. If you've been suffering for your faith and wondering if God forgot you, this is the moment you'll see what no one ever showed you. Today, God is about to flip your suffering into your calling. The cost isn't a curse, it's a confirmation. You weren't lied to. You were just taught half the truth. They told you Jesus came to give you peace, but they forgot to mention the sword. They told you favor would follow your faith, but they didn't show you the footprints of the cross. They told you God would open doors, but not that some doors slam shut to keep you pure. And now you're confused, because ever since you surrendered, you felt the fire turn up, not down. You've lost friends. You've been labeled too spiritual. You've been mocked, silenced, or avoided, just for refusing to compromise. But what if all of that isn't failure, but evidence? Matthew 5 and 10:11 says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Persecution isn't hell's opposition, it's heaven's recognition. When the world rejects you for righteousness, you're not being cast out, you're being called up. The ones who cost the world nothing rarely carry anything eternal. You've been crying over who left you, but God is celebrating who you're becoming. This isn't a setback, it's a seal. You don't belong to comfort, you belong to the cross. When obedience feels like isolation. You started walking closer with God, and suddenly people started walking away from you. You stopped laughing at the same jokes, you stopped chasing the same highs, you stopped showing up where compromise called you. And now it feels like you're standing alone in a room that used to feel like home. Let me tell you something that religion won't. Sometimes the proof of your sanctification is your separation. 2 Timothy 3:12 says, "Everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted." Not might, will. Because light never enters darkness quietly. It confronts, it exposes, and the darkness resists. If your obedience hasn't cost you anything, it's possible you're not walking close enough to the edge where transformation actually happens. This isolation, it's not punishment, it's preparation. It's God detoxing your circle before He deposits His calling. Because what He's about to build in you can't survive in contaminated environments. You've been grieving who walked away, but God has been guarding what's about to walk in. Stay faithful in the silence. It's louder in heaven than you think. You're not being punished. You're being proven. It felt like the more you obeyed, the more resistance you faced. Like every time you said yes to God, the world shouted no back. Doors closed, people changed, peace disappeared, and you began to wonder, is God mad at me? But here's the truth most pulpits won't preach. Pain doesn't mean punishment. Sometimes pain means proof. Proof that your faith isn't fake. Proof that your convictions are real enough to cost you something. 1 Peter 1:6-7 says, "Though now, for a little while, you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed." You're not being tested because God is cruel. You're being tested because your faith is valuable. Nobody counterfeits a $1 bill, but Satan will counterfeit everything that resembles glory, including you. And that's why your process is so painful. You're not weak, you're authentic. And authenticity must go through the fire so it doesn't fall in the field. This suffering is not to destroy you, it's to distill you. God is removing the mixture, the ego, the people-pleasing, the performance, because He's about to pour you out, and He refuses to serve anything diluted. So, no, you're not being punished. You're being proven for something far greater than your comfort zone can contain. When fire reveals what flattery can't. There are things about you that only suffering can expose. Not the version of you people applaud, not the mask you wear at church, but the real you, the one that rises when everything else falls. You see, flattery builds platforms, but fire builds altars. And God isn't interested in your performance, He's after your purity. Daniel didn't meet God in applause. He met Him in a den full of lions. The 3 Hebrew boys didn't encounter the presence in favor, they encountered it in the furnace. Because the fire isn't proof you've been forsaken. It's the place God walks in with you. Isaiah 43:2 says, "When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." It doesn't say if you walk through fire, it says when. And it promises not escape, but endurance. God's not rushing to pull you out of the fire. He's refining you in it. Because He's not just trying to rescue you, He's preparing to reveal you. So when the applause stops, when the crowd leaves, when your name gets slandered for standing with Jesus, don't run. Stay in the fire. Because what it burns away is never greater than what it reveals. You weren't made to be liked. You were made to be lit. The more you reflect Christ, the more you'll be rejected. You thought becoming more like Jesus would attract more love, but instead it attracted more warfare. You speak truth and get labeled judgmental. You walk in purity and get called religious. You stand for righteousness and suddenly you're too intense. But here's the truth the crowd won't clap for. The more you reflect Christ, the more you'll be rejected by the world that crucified Him. John 15:18-20. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. The rejection you're feeling? It's not random, it's not personal, it's prophetic. Because the enemy doesn't attack what doesn't threaten him, and darkness never applauds the rise of light. You're not losing popularity, you're gaining power. You're not being left out, you're being set apart. Stop trying to be understandable to people who've never encountered the Spirit. Stop watering down your fire just to keep from offending lukewarm souls. God didn't call you to blend in, He called you to burn bright. Even if it costs you comfort, status, or applause. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be loyal to the one who was rejected by all. Suffering isn't a detour, it's the direct path to glory. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that suffering is a sign God left you. But in the kingdom, suffering is often the sign He's closest. Jesus didn't avoid pain. He walked straight into it. For you. And now, He's asking you to carry a cross, not a crown. Romans 8:17 says, "If we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we share in His sufferings in order that we may also share in His glory." Did you catch that? Suffering isn't a side road. It's the highway to inheritance. You can't separate the glory from the groaning. You can't bypass the breaking and still expect the blessing. Because what's forming in you isn't just for now. It's eternal. God isn't raising up influencers. He's refining overcomers. And that means He will allow pressure, not to crush you, but to clarify you. Not to humiliate you, but to humble you. Not to punish you, but to position you. You keep praying for God to take away the fire. But He's using the fire to awaken your purpose. You're not stuck in the pain. You're being shaped by it. And if you don't quit here, if you worship through the weeping, you'll walk out carrying the kind of glory that hell can't counterfeit. The ones who suffered most will shine. Brightest heaven doesn't measure greatness the way earth does. Down here, we honor ease, comfort, applause. But up there, it's the scars that shine, the martyrs, the faithful few, the ones who were mocked, rejected, beaten, yet never stopped loving Jesus, the ones who lost everything, but never lost their yes. Revelation 12:11 says, "They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death." That's not religion. That's devotion. You've been wondering if it's worth it. If choosing Jesus is worth losing relationships. If standing for truth is worth the backlash. If walking alone is worth the rejection. But heaven has already decided it is. Because for every tear, there's a crown. For every sacrifice, there's a seat. For every earthly loss, there's eternal legacy. God keeps better records than you think. Every insult, every betrayal, every night you cried yourself to sleep because you wouldn't bow to the culture, it's been written in His book. And one day, when the smoke clears and the trials end and your name is called, you won't regret a single step of obedience. The ones who suffered most will shine the brightest. You were chosen for this fire, not forgotten in it. The enemy wants you to believe that this suffering means you've been forsaken, that God has left, that heaven went silent, that your pain is proof He's done. But the truth is, you've never been more seen. You weren't picked at random for this fire. You were handpicked for it, chosen for the furnace, called to the wilderness, marked by heaven even when earth mocks you. 1 Peter 4:12-13 says, "Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you, but rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ." This fire isn't a mistake. It's a meeting place. You're not being consumed. You're being consecrated. This isn't abandonment. It's alignment. God is aligning your life with His purpose, your heart with His glory, your future with His fire. Don't curse the pain that's preparing you. Don't run from the fire that's refining you. Don't resent the process that's revealing you, because the very flames meant to destroy you are the ones God will use to display you. You were never forgotten. You were being forged. And when this fire is finished, you won't be burned. You'll be branded with glory, with power, with anointing that can't be bought, only birthed through suffering. You were never weak, just wounded. Never forgotten, just forged. Never abandoned, just being aligned. This pain was never the end of your story. It was the altar where God began rewriting it. So if this message just exposed your wounds and whispered healing into your soul, don't stay silent. Heaven's been waiting for your response. Comment, "I'm not ashamed to suffer for Christ." Subscribe if you want to keep hearing what heaven is whispering. And remember this: the suffering was real, but so is the glory that's coming.